Good to be here. Been a long time.
Yes.
Good to be back, Dave. I'm excited, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And I just wanted to start off with what is going on in the economy. And the mainstream media, it's so funny. They pick like times and dates when the recession's going to hit. They said, 2019, the economy is going to slow. 2020, this is when we're going to have the recession. And it's going to happen right before the elections. And all of a sudden, the Federal Reserve decided, hey, you know what? We're going to put ourselves in a holding pattern. We're not going to raise rates anymore. And we're just going to look and watch and see what happens. Is the economy headed towards a recession? Is there going to be a recession? Because when we look at the stock market, when we look at the numbers, everything looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is, as far as what companies have been reporting, yeah, it makes it look like the economy is fantastic, but it's not. Let's be honest. The economy is not fantastic. It's only fantastic in the sense that they're laying off, thousands of jobs and having computers take over for that. And it's really more so a restructuring, though. It's not like, okay, well, these jobs are going away and nothing's going to come back in its place. There will be something to come in its place, but I would say that our economy is still under reconstruction. We haven't really done away with the old industrial system. We're still developing the information system, but it's taking a little bit longer to do away with the old industrial system. So that's really what you're seeing happening is the last pieces of the industrial system being turned. Someone's turning the lights off. They're closing the doors, literally, just like we've been hearing this past week. J.C. Penney's is going to be closing stores, and a whole bunch of other retailers are closing stores. A total of 500 stores are going to be closed, and these are major retailers. Foot Locker, is in that mix as well. So a lot of old economy situations are transforming themselves, and then others are actually falling away and not coming back, just like all the jobs we lost during the dot-com craze in the late 90s. A lot of those jobs have gone away too and not come back. I can tell you the first job I got right out of high school was a data entry job. That really doesn't exist anymore. It's an industry that's gone. A lot of industries have faded away because they were part of the old industrial system. So that's all we're really seeing now is just a restructuring of this new system, this new information system. So as a result of that, on one hand, it looks like the sky is falling, the economy, is crashing, collapsing. But in reality, it's really not. It's just restructuring and reshaping itself like a snake shedding its skin. That's all the economy really is doing. So it appears that it's dying, and look, all these industries closing down and jobs going away. But then new jobs are being created along with the new industries to go with them. So that's really what we're seeing. And then when you look at the Wall Street earnings, for the most part, they've been pretty good. A lot of stocks have shot through the moon right after these earning reports have come out. And not to mention, you look at some of the Fed numbers that's coming out. All right, it's a little flat. Consumer confidence was up though, but as far as GDP and stuff, it's okay. It's not too impressive, but it's not super bad either. And that's only because, like I said, we're facing a restructuring. And the last time I was on your show, if people recall, I gave some prognostications. One of which was that the mining stocks, you would see some of them go up 1,000%. And guess what? It took a few extra months, but by golly, they sure enough did.
Yep.
So now the next thing on the chopping block, we don't really know all the details just yet, but there are some more situations, some more industries on the chopping block that are being restructured. Walmart did announce that they're going to be laying off the greeters. They're not going to have greeters anymore. So those people who are greeters have to be reabsorbed back into the system, maybe cashiers or some other type of job. But unfortunately, some of the greeters won't even be able to do that. So they may be kind of like lost in the shuffle, fall between the cracks. So there are remnants of old system ideas that are going away. New ones are coming. I know that Whole Foods, after they got acquired by Amazon, a lot of people were nervous because they announced, that new store where you don't even need people to run it. You just walk in and it will read the chip on your smartphone based on the app that you download. It knows what you take off the shelf, et cetera, et cetera. So they know that that's coming down the line. They're not doing it, immediately, but it is coming. And more stores you go to now do have self-checkout. So when you see self-checkout, that means, a dozen or so cashiers have just got laid off. So cashiers are, the first people to get hurt, and a lot of retail stuff too, because the transformation that's coming in the digital age, you won't need a lot of human effort to do a lot of menial tasks.
Correct.
The computer will be doing that. The machine will do that. The Android, the synthetic, whatever you want to call it, is going to be doing that. But the next thing on the chopping block after that is your white collar and the middle class jobs. They also are on the chopping block because truth be told, all right, and this is going to be interesting. A majority of like the government jobs and the government sector, you could literally use a computer to do that too. You don't need a human being. Now, we know that our government has been very wasteful over the past several decades. I can tell you from personal experience being in the DMV that there were times where I would have to call a government office in the District of Columbia, the nation's capital, and when the person picked up the phone, you could hear the TV loud in the background. They were watching the Oprah Winfrey show. All right. This is your tax dollars at work. They were doing nothing. They were just, paper pushers. Now, you would think, well, what about all the ones with the security clearances? They're keeping our country safe, doing this stuff. No. See, the hustle with the security clearance thing was that most of those positions didn't really technically need a security clearance. It's just the government decided to classify certain things that really didn't need to be classified. And this was done, to push other pork bills and get those things passed. For instance, they would create new positions and departments that were designed to only last a few years just to get a certain agenda and project done. And then you wouldn't need, the thing anymore. But as you know, on Capitol Hill, it's easier to pass a law than it is to change a law or do away with one. So what happens is a lot of these organizations and offices and departments end up lingering and not going away, even though they only intended to last for a short period of time. So these people are planted there and they're really doing nothing all day. And you could use a computer to do that. And these people have high, their GS-15s and all this other stuff, and these high GS levels. And, they're making six-figure salaries, but they're really not doing anything. And so that's a lot of waste going out the window. Well, it used to be thought and said that if you had a government job, you had job security. But when Clinton came into office, he shut all that down. For those that remember, when the government shut down during the summer back in the 90s, dozens of government entities went poof. They were gone. They got rid of them. A lot, right. And some of them they rolled up into other departments. So that I see coming again, because you're not going to need all those people to do all those things. So what the government does without the privy people like us being privy to it is that instead of like announcing what they're doing, they just offer a bunch of people early retirements.
Yeah.
Right.
And they almost force them to take it because what they do, they know most people, they be like, no, I don't want to retire right now. I enjoy what I'm doing. So what they do is they throw a suitcase full of money at them, literally, and say, go ahead and take this if you retire. If you retire today, you get this. If you don't, we're taking it away. And most people say, okay, I'll take the briefcase, and they're out of there. So that's what they do. And they just get people out, 20,000, 30,000 jobs gone, and they're not going to replace those jobs. They just want to cut those departments and slim down a little bit. I know that's an oxymoron saying government slimming down. No, the government doesn't want to, make itself smaller. It wants to make itself larger. But sometimes the only way it can make itself larger is first to slim down first.
Yeah.
And then it bulks itself back up. You know what I'm saying? On a different diet. And in this age, it's the information age. It's bulking itself up on technology systems like your level 5 that's coming out. All right.
Yep.
So when that comes out, that is going to create more glut because you're going to need more individuals running the machines and the data machines that's collecting all this data and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on when you pull up the skirt of the economy and see what the government's planning. It's pretty mind-boggling. And now it's the Medicare thing that they want to do. All right.
Hey,
so,
Dex, real quick, man. Well, I just want to chime in real quick before I lose this point. You made an awesome point, man. You said this is like a snake shedding its skin.
Right.
And you couldn't have picked a better example. Because what we're witnessing here, folks, this is what a lot of people don't get here. And Dex and I have been on the money every single time on this, right? What we're all witnessing is the death of the phoenix. So what's happening is that everybody's seeing the bird immolate. They're like, oh, look, the physical economy is dying. Manufacturing is dead, and it's all being gutted, and this, that, and the other. It's being done on purpose. And just like the phoenix bird, right? Just like the phoenix bird, that bird has to die. It self-immolates, and then the new creation springs forth. Well, what's springing forth? What is happening here in the last, I'd say 10 years that has accelerated to such a pace that it's blowing minds away, number one. It's replacing whole swaths of industries that used to exist, just like Dex said. Data entry used to happen. Where is it now? Poof, it's gone. We can go through a litany of industries that are no longer with us. Why? Because we're entering the information age. We are entering the economy of the machine. We are entering the economy where data is king. It's all algos all the time. From our markets, and this is where Dex, the algo capitalist, comes in, and he's been on the money, with the stock market and where it has been going, where everybody is saying, well, next Tuesday it's going to collapse because you look at the U.S. debt, it went up 22%, and we're at $22.23 trillion, and that's all fine and dandy. You see, a lot of the contrarians were and I was one of them, and I still am to a large degree. We're looking at the death part. We're looking at the physical economy dying. Yes, and we are absolutely correct in calling out how it's dying, why it's dying, and all that destruction that goes along with it. But there's a separation occurring. And this separation is completely digital driven. And it's hard for a lot of people to switch their minds from a physical economy to a digital economy. They're like, what? It's a hard thing for most people to wrap their minds around that when you say, hey, data is value. Like, there's a reason why, folks, that if I had an email list of 50,000 or 100,000 people, why that data is worth tens of millions to a corporation. You might just say, well, that's just email addresses. That don't mean nothing. You don't get it. It's a different game. This is why, one of the things I've been working on is with cryptocurrencies on a institutional level. And institutions, and there's major institutions that I deal with that I am basically a mandate for to go out and to procure digital assets for them. Okay? And I'm going to show you guys something real quick. I'm start sharing this screen. Boom. Look at that amount. This was a proof of funds that was given to me early in the fall by an institution. And they've contacted me and said, hey, V, we need to get some Bitcoin. And there are large institutions. This is about 600 million sitting in an account. I have proof of funds of accounts in the tens of billions. Okay, where the institution saying, hey, we want digital assets. Why digital assets? Well, they want it because of the simple fact that the digital asset, folks, is the internet of money. This is the machine economy. It's the machine currency. It's the machine's work. So all the physical stuff. Think about it. Dex, you made another great point. You said, they're going to cut down government. Well, why is that? In the digital age where we're moving to high speed data, having humans involved slows things down considerably. So this is the shift, folks. When you have large institutions that are out there, spending, 600 million, $1 billion here, 10 billion, acquiring and getting in the digital asset space all the time, all the while telling you, Bitcoin's dead. No, it's very much alive. It's very much alive. And there's also getting to physical commodities, gold. The price, what's happening in the acquisition of gold on the physical end, on the back end in Hong Kong, from my partners, I tell you, it's been incredible, absolutely incredible. So there is a change, and that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Dex.
Let me just play the devil advocate here.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we see the death of an older economy and a birth of a newer economy. But we still have the Federal Reserve, the central bank system, where they're still loaning the government money. We're still borrowing money. The debt is still continually rising. I mean, don't we have to go, even though we're changing the economy, don't we have to go to the source and eventually get rid of all of this borrowing and all of this money wasting and things like that?
Yeah.
No. Tell you why. I said this before on my documentary on YouTube. There is no collapse. They could run the debt up to 1 million Googleplexes, and still not crash the economy, because it's a different economy. Now, I know people are going to say you don't make any sense because math is still math, numbers are still numbers, and if your debts are outpacing your income, you're bankrupt. I know that. I understand that. But the way the new economy works is that I'll use the Federal Reserve and the central banks as the example. They are now put in a situation where they literally control every financial aspect of said economy. And when I say control every aspect, they control the money flows, which is more important than anything else. The person that controls the money makes the laws. All right. So central banks control the money. You cannot move money without them knowing and giving you approval to do so. It's just that simple. Why do you think there's so much problems, down in South America? Because the central banks have decided that they're going to cut off the money flows. When those money flows are cut off, you can't pay your bills. It's the equivalent of the government freezing your accounts. You can't do anything. You can't pay anybody, and no one can pay you. So you can't acquire the things that you need for survival. You can't do anything. You can't run your government. You can't do anything. So when you allow the central banks to control the money flows, then they control literally the country. And you can say, in this case, literally the world. And that's why we have been moving from fiat physical to digital fiat, non-physical assets. That's what this is all about. So are you that saying doesn't apply here? Well, go ahead.
So what you're saying is we still have the central banks. Wouldn't it be better to get rid of the central banks? I mean, if you look at Bitcoin or any of the cryptocurrencies, they're created without interest attached to it.
Correct.
You're right. Wouldn't it be better if we as a people created our own currency without interest attached? Wouldn't the economy run so much better?
I agree with you 100%.
And it could be that
in a perfect world, they would do. We would do that, but that's not going to happen, and that's not the world we live in, and it's never going to happen. Remember this too, folks. Someone is always going to want to leave. You can do away with one dictator, another one will rise up. You can do away with one army, another one will rise up. It doesn't matter. Someone's always going to want to lead, and because human beings are fallen creatures and sinful, there are always going to be wars. There's always going to be chaos, and it's never going to stop. And it's never going to be perfect. You can give us the perfect form of government, the perfect set rules of laws, and there's still going to be corruption. At the end of the day, it's corruption. It's gross, rampant corruption. So this way, the people who are the most corrupt get to control everything else around it. The corruption is now your governmental system. The corruption is now your central banks. That's where your corruption is. They're the ones that start the wars. They're the ones that fund the wars on both sides. They're the ones that send out hit squads to take out elected officials so that they can install a puppet official. This is corruption. You and I don't have that kind of power to do that. The so-called nebulous government is the one that does that. So no, it's not going to hurt and kill itself. No, it's not going to allow for, free money flows among the people without their involvement. That's why they've made it and passed laws and use force and military force to back it up. And the fear and threat of violence that every bank, even not located in the United States, will bow and bend the knee to this Federal Reserve System, to this central bank system. That's why it will never be. We have a little bit of breathing room with the cryptos. Thank God for that. Don't know how much longer that'll last, but understand these central banks that run the money flows will never allow for what you just said. They will drop a nuke on that country first before they allow that to happen.
Well, I mean,
and they demonstrated.
This is the third central banks the U.S. had, and we got rid of two of them. There's still a possibility, and I don't like to say never ever, because I notice whenever I say that, then actually the opposite happens. I mean, there is always a chance if you do it correctly and maybe have certain nations working together to get rid of the central bank, it can still happen if you have a coordinated effort. I mean, we got rid of two of them already. We're on a third one here in the country. So we now have cryptos, which is a great, way to separate from the central bank system. And I think there's many other ways of destroying the central bank system if it's done correctly.
It is a alien life form. It is a combination of a fungus and a virus. You just admitted that we've had three of them. Why have we had three? Every time you get rid of it, it comes back. It's never cured. It's never dead. So it reminds me of one of the other movies when he said, "If it ain't Alice, it ain't dead." So because Alice is not here to kill the Jabberwocky, that's what we are. If you kill it, it's just going to come back. There's always going to be someone, like I said, that wants to lead, someone that has power and influence, i.e. military muscle, with the threat of violence to back them. And that's what we've been seeing. And now things are going to such a technological advanced stage that it's going to be impossible to remove said monster, because it's not just a centrally located monster. This monster now is global. You see what I'm saying? For example, if one bank goes away, another one rises up to take its place. This monster has a zillion heads and 20 zillion tentacles. So you can't really get rid of it. It's one of those animals that when you cut an arm off, it grows it back. So that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a squid-like, spider-like entity that is absorbing everything around it like a viral fungus infection, and there's nothing anyone can do about it because it's strengthened itself over the decades, and it's like a cancer, like a cancerous tumor in an area of your body that makes it impossible to operate without killing the patient. That's where we are right now. You can't even remove it, because if you do, everything will just die and collapse around it. That's what I'm saying. I know it's hard to explain so that people can see what I'm saying, but That's where we are, literally. We're there.
Well, sometimes it's necessary for everything to collapse around it and start anew. Maybe sometimes, even though we've gotten rid of it before, I'm not saying that it will never ever come back, but it's almost like when in Syria, when they said the Islamic State can never be beaten, they're expanding too much, and all of a sudden they were beaten. Anything can be brought down if you do it correctly. Yes, they've grown. They've done this on purpose. They have infiltrated every single part of the world, in every country, in every place. And if you had a coordinated effort, and if you had countries on board, I'm talking about the main countries on board, where they took over the central banks, where they took it away from the Rothschild, and instead of loaning the money, you just created the currency without interest attached. That would hurt the central bank right off the bat, and actually help the economy at the same time.
Yeah, but who or what has that? Look, they can't even agree on Brexit. The European Union is literally falling apart and coming apart at the seams. That's a perfect example for you right there.
Well, no, that's a fight between the central bank and the people who don't. You're going to see this going forward. You're going to see a fight between the central bank that wants to keep what they have, and you're going to see, and they're not going to agree. And basically what's going to have to happen is say, you know something? There are no agreements. Boom. We separate ourselves. Bye-bye. That's that. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to agree on something where the central bank is saying, just give me this, and that's that. They're like Siths. They see black and white. They don't like to bargain. They don't like to do anything. The other side is saying, no, we don't want that. That's not for us. That's not what we wanted. That's not what we were talking about. And that's why you see this disagreement. What you really need to do is say, you know something? We're separating ourselves. Bye-bye. You get nothing. And if every country can do this, and everyone say, you know something? Bye-bye, central bank. You know what? We're not borrowing your money anymore. We have the right to create our own currency. We have the right not to, borrow the currency with interest attached. Boom. It's over with. You don't have to bargain anymore. There is no bargaining with them. They don't like to bargain. They're Siths from Star Wars, black and white. Do it our way or that's it. You know what? We're not going to do it your way. We're doing it our way. And this is the people now saying this is what we want. Just like when people think governments can't be taken down and the people have enough and they can't take it anymore, then all of a sudden the people rise up and say, you know what? We can't take this anymore. Yes, I have a pitchfork. Yes, I have, a shovel, but you know what? I'm done here. And there's a revolution. Maybe there needs to be a revolution against the central bank.
Yeah.
Well, because everything you said is absolutely right and correct. There's no argument there. The only problem is, I don't think people quite understand what we are facing right now. So here's another prognostication for you. There will be no Brexit. Just like I said before, there will be no Brexit, and there is still no Brexit. And the European Union is going to get even stronger and bring more people into the fold. That European beast is going to play a real vital part of the 5G network as far as from a global aspect. And that's exactly what they want. This monster, you haven't even begun to see the strength of it. I mean, look at it this way. Look where we've come. And look at all the things that this government system is able to get away with, and no one says or does anything about it to stop it. There was a time in the USA where you could travel abroad without permission. Now you need permission. Now, you would think that if the USA made those decisions, that other countries are still free to do whatever they want. Why is it that is uniformity globally? They agree with the USA monster system because they have become a part of it. So I could say right now, you know what? I don't care what they say. I'm about to catch me a flight and I'm going to go, let's say I'm going to France. Well, what's going to happen is I'm not going to be admitted to even get into France. I might make it out of the country, but they're not going to allow me to come into their country because they're going to say you don't have a passport and you don't have a visa, which means you don't have permission to come here. So we're going to send you back to where you came. And that's what's going to happen to me. Now, Why did we allow that to happen? Why did we say, you know what? Let there be passports. Let there be visas. When there was a time where you didn't need that, but now all of a sudden you need it. So we allowed that to happen. We were convinced by this central bank system to allow this to happen. And the reason why we agreed on it is because it wasn't the central bank taking center stage. The central bank is the puppet master behind everything else that you see.
I agree with you.
They're the ones that finance and fund all of the propaganda.
Yeah.
They're the ones that finance and fund everything that you have seen in your life that is negative. They are behind it. The money changers are behind it.
They're the source of the problem.
Yep.
So that's why people are not going to get rid of them. No army is going to rise up and get rid of them because they are the army. Then look at your UN. Look at how the UN has grown over the past few decades. Look at the power of it, and look what you see. For the first time in the United Nations existence, you had a U.S. president, an acting live U.S. president, set at the head of it. That should tell you everything you need to know. And that's why nothing's going to change, because if you do say, as a country, I want out, we don't want a central bank here, we're going to do our own thing, I guarantee the next thing you would see is whoever your leader is would have an accident, or they would say, oh, he died of natural causes, even though they found 80 bullet holes in his head. So they'll say, oh, he died of a heart attack. And then they would install a new puppet to do exactly what they want to do and say, you know what, we're not leaving. We're going to stay here. We're happy here. It's cold outside. We don't want to go outside. We want to stay in here where it's warm. And that's what you see time and time and time and time again. Now, look what's happening now in Cuba. When Obama was president, everybody was like, yeah, USA and Cuba are friends again. We're hanging out. We chilling. We doing all this stuff. And now all of a sudden, now you're talking about sanctions again. So are you saying that the U.S. just can't get along with anyone? No. Here's what's happening behind the scenes that most people are not privy to. Okay, the U.S. wants to take more control away from Cuba as a sovereign entity. And Cuba is saying, no, we're not having that. So they're like, okay, if you don't do what we say, we're going to put sanctions on you. What really are sanctions when you really get to the nuts and bolts of a sanction? It's saying we're going to turn off the machine and you will not have access to the things that you need, such as food and energy. You will be cut off. Is that what you want? No. So do what we say. This is.
I'll chime in real quick in terms of the international scope. U.S. sanctions are meaningless. They have no power. The U.S. is a dying, toothless tiger on the world stage. They're not ahead of any sort. Look at the last several meetings on every single major global hotspot that has occurred in the last 5 years. U.S. was not even on the bargaining table. They try to interfere. They try to do their typical deep state tricks. Their proxy groups: ISIS, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, you name it. It's done nothing. Their sanctions on Russia. Physically speaking, Russia has the lowest debt of any nation. Their economy is humming. They've actually thrived in the sanctions. Why? There's a decoupling. There's a de-dollarization that's going on. That's not only inevitable, but it's visualizing. We're seeing a system change. And there's two systems on the world stage right now. One is a new emerging one, and one is a dying one. The Anglo-American power structure. I mean, you look at the rift just between Germany and the U.S. Just look at that rift. Look at that. Look at the beef over the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines that are coming in from Russia. The fact that they've snubbed U.S. shale instead of they snubbed it, and they're rather going with Gazprom, with Russian energy. Look at the world stage, how you have a multipolar world emerging, and I'm celebrating that. It is a new world. Now we are celebrating the multipolar world. We are seeing the emergence of a new monetary system that's coming out and being. And there's a lot of decentralization coming along, but and here's the but: the same players are still there. They haven't gone away. Nobody's gotten arrested. They're not thrown in jail. They're not, the same players who are. I mean, case in point, like I said, earlier that I'm brokering digital assets for large, SEC and FINRA licensed institutions. So when you look at the majority of cryptocurrency, the only cryptocurrency that matters right now on planet Earth is Bitcoin. That's it. All these other altcoins don't matter nothing. They're all riding Bitcoin's coattails. When Bitcoin's up, they're up. When Bitcoin's down, they're down. That's just the way it is. And when you look at the fact that 97% of Bitcoin is controlled by less than 4% of the wallets, then you look at the fact that the like 90 some odd percent of the wallets of Bitcoin that's out there has less than $100 worth of Bitcoin in it. It's the major players that are controlling it. It's the same people. Now we could have an argument: is it a team A or team B? And who is it? Is it platform A? Is it platform B? Is it world system A or world system B that's winning at this point? And I'll tell you, there is a multipolar world. And globalism in its traditional sense, it's fracturing big time, and a lot of that stress we see from the yellow jackets to the pro Brexit protests that are exploding all over Britain right now. Populism is what they're calling it. Everywhere in the world is on the rise, and there's a lot of chaos. All of this is because the old system's going away. The dollar is going to get replaced as world reserve currency. There's no point for it anymore. And people are saying, oh, it's going to be the Chinese. The Chinese are going to make the yuan the world reserve currency. No, not at all. China has no regard. I mean, they have no desire to be world reserve currency. They want to have an option of their currency being on top of that. But this new system, what they're rolling out, and you see the heavy investment in blockchain technology on both Russia and China. You see it in South Korea. You see it in Japan. Okay, and you see in the majority of the world, things are getting decentralized. Things are going blockchain. We're going to have some sort of cryptographic currency, folks. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be some sort of a cryptographic dollar, some sort of digital currency. And heck, the dollar is, for all points and interest, without a blockchain involved, is technically a digital currency. I mean, no one's, the majority of dollars are just ones and zeros on a computer screen. So this transfer is happening. But the U.S. as a global world power and 300, 400 years of Anglo-American or the Anglo or British banking, the Rothschild banking system, that's coming apart. That is coming apart, and that is something that's being pushed to the far corners. What the new system is right now and how it's going to emerge, how it's going to play out, I don't know. But one thing I do know, to think that the controllers, the guys of the old system, are not steering this new one, that's kind of foolhardy. We'll have a place. It's a bigger table. It's kind of funny, Dave. I would say that the crazy death dealers who were in charge for the last several decades are been put on the sidelines, and I think it's a little bit more level-headed elites. Sad to say. I mean, it sounds like blasphemy, but these guys ain't going away. They're just tweaking things. This tweak has done a few things. Number one, it's bought us some time. And number two, it's bought us a lot of opportunities to better position ourselves. Those are the only two things that we can really point out to,
I mean, are the central banks, are they still looking at cryptocurrency? Are they even interested in it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. We have a couple of platforms. We have Bancor, which the Bancor blockchain, which when you really study it and you look at it, it is literally a Swift replacement. You have XRP, Ripple. Yes, Ripple is a fake coin. Yes, it's the banksters' coin. But do I trade it? Yes, I trade it. Why? Because I'm going to make the money off the banksters. I don't care. You got to be pragmatic, right? Ripple is a very good Swift alternative as well. So you're looking at alternatives to this. You look at blockchain itself. Okay, the central bank concept, it does not work in the high-speed digital age that we're moving into. It will be done away with, and I think there's going to be a new monetary system, a new banking system, so to speak. It's not going to be a central bank, but there's maybe a central node that's dominated by AI. Maybe a central node that's dominated by AI that is in charge of the issuance of its digital currency, a digital currency that could be possibly backed by a commodity and then tokenized. That could be very well the future that we're moving into. It's automation. And when you move into an automated system, I mean, think about it. I mean, Wall Street has perfected this, folks. I mean, Dex could talk to you for hours about high frequency trading, where literally it's the race for milliseconds, and they're doing it faster than any human could do it. These machines are doing it. It's all high frequency trading. It's all algorithms. And when you're moving into that type of an environment, how inefficient and how clumsy and how clunky and how slow is a human and the central bank concept? It's the Model T trying to race in an age of Ferraris. It just can't compete. So the central bank concept will be gone, and it will die by its own design. It's by design ineffective. It's by design inefficient for this new digital age. So we're going to have some sort of central issuance of currency, and it will be some sort of blockchain ledger-based system. But to think that the power brokers, the ones who have the real wealth and the real power, are somehow absolved from it, no, that's foolhardy to think. They're in on it. They're driving it. It's these institutions that are driving the development of cryptographic currencies. I mean, look at what's it called? Digital Currency Group, DCG, right? DCG is a huge player. Digital Currency Group. Nobody talks about them, but most people don't know that DCG owns Kraken. They own Coinbase. They own, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. They own hundreds of exchanges. They own thousands of OTC desks. They have their hands in on everything. And who's funding DCG? Well, it's the biggest players in the game: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. It's not going away, folks. It's evolving. The whole system's evolving. So, yeah, our current system is collapsing. It's imploding onto itself, and there's a new system coming about. And how that exactly is going to look like, I don't know. Right now, I just feel like an elephant, like a blind man groping at an elephant, trying to describe to you what this animal looks like. It's very foolhardy to say, hey, this is what it's going to look like. We can postulate right now what it's going to look like. And we could have some guesses, but we don't know yet.
You made some good points, V, and I hope people were really listening to what you just finished saying, because you just gave everyone a visual picture of what is really going on behind the scenes. And I do believe there was someone on YouTube back when Bitcoin was at 20,000. They warned people that they should be tightening up their stops or taking profit and getting out. Yep. I forget the name of that channel.
I think it was a certain man by the name of Dex.
Algo Capitalist. There you go. That's what that YouTube channel was. And I also believe that someone spilled the beans on the whole crypto complex and said that the central banks were starting to get involved in it, so that they could try to control it or manipulate it in some way. Yep. And then I think the same person warned people that big, large institutions were getting involved. I think that when I said those things, people laughed at me. I got all types of terrible, things that people said, to me and stuff, threats, everything.
The typical arguments: you can't control Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized. Bitcoin is one of the most centralized things out there, folks. Yeah, you can't, physically manipulate Bitcoin the way you'd manipulate a fiat currency, correct? But when you look at the biggest miners of Bitcoin, and again, I'm telling you somebody who plays in the space in a very large way. So you look at the six largest miners in the world of Bitcoin. Okay, the seven biggest miners. Okay, the seven biggest miners of Bitcoin on the entire planet. 6 of them are in China. How do you not be centralized? And I just said this: like 97% of all the Bitcoin is held by less than 4% of the wallets, and they're all large institutions and or very wealthy individuals. It's not your average mom and pop. You can't tell me that Bitcoin is decentralized when the average Joe on the street can't even utilize Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee. What's so decentralized about that?
And it's funny because, again, I was told I was an idiot. I didn't know what I was talking about. I need to stick to stocks because I didn't know the first thing about cryptos. Remember that? And now that the Bitcoin is falling to 3,000, where are all those people? I don't hear no noise. Where are all the prognosticators? Where did they go?
What do you say to people when they say, okay, Bitcoin was at 20,000, now you're saying it's 3,000, and people are out there, and I think in the beginning of the show we said that people are saying that Bitcoin is dead. Is it dead? Is the blockchain done?
No. And again, Dave, I can show you proof of funds for institutions that I'm working with. These are large FINRA and SEC licensed and regulated institutions, some of whom are household names. I cannot even mention names. That's why I bleeded out the names. You could see it. These numbers are real. And I'll tell you right now, there's a reason why these players are in the game. They're not stupid. They have some of the smartest people in the world working for them. Number one, some of the most the most brilliant engineers, software wizards working for these institutions, and they are all in on Bitcoin. Why? Because they are going to financialize the hell out of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but mostly Bitcoin. They're going to financialize the heck out of it. Why? Because it is the new market for yield. It's a liquid market right now. There's right now a lot of liquidity being jumped into it. They're going to financialize it. They're going to play it, and they're in on it. They're absolutely in on it. Does that mean they could control the price? No, but they can manipulate the price, number one. Number two, they can regulate it, because let's be honest here. If you're sitting on $10 million worth of Bitcoin, how are you going to liquidate it? Where are you going to get the dollars from? You got 10 million in Bitcoin. Okay, good for you. You're a Bitcoin millionaire. Okay, very good. Congratulations. Now go buy yourself something. Go buy yourself a cup of coffee. Can you do that? No. Somehow you got to get into fiat. And that's the choke point. They got the nodes covered. Coinbase, when they put out that they started issuing 1099s or 1029s, whatever it was, right? Where they're saying if you got more than $400,000 in BTC gains in Coinbase, and you see this with Kraken, you see with any one of these U.S. exchanges, oh yeah, you're going to be paying anywhere between 20 to 39.6% in taxes.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Because why? They're controlling the choke points. Yeah, you can have all you can be a crypto billionaire. But the difference between you and I can go to Starbucks and I can buy myself a cup of coffee. Can you do that?
Nope. And so, as of a question, here's another thing. Why, if Bitcoin was dead or dying or going away, why would the exchange risk creating a futures product based on Bitcoin?
Exactly. The CME would never do that if they thought Bitcoin was going away.
Chicago
They would
Board
never
of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they would never do that. And why do you think that every player, every financial instrument on the planet is trying to get in on it? They want a blockchain bond. They want a blockchain. They want to blockchain the world.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because they have chosen for themselves that Bitcoin is going to be their coin for the near future. So they created the futures contract for that purpose. Now the next step is major companies, as V has just alluded to, operating in the space, because they're going to start accepting Bitcoin for payment. More and more places are starting to accept the Bitcoin for purchase for payment. And pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to buy a car, buy a house, pay your mortgage. You'll be able to do anything you want to do with Bitcoin, because, believe it or not, word on the street is that there's someone somewhere close to the White House that wants to make Bitcoin the new digital dollar. Now, let's go back one step, because V brought up another good point. He was showing you, these large institutions that are operating specifically in the Bitcoin space. Again, this, just like you were told before, is the proof of what we told you years ago, that the institutions were back then secretly involved behind the scenes. Now they've amassed tens of millions of dollars in a stake at different places and buying up exchanges, and it is so much going on, folks, behind the scenes. It will blow your mind, but you're going to see it rolled out very soon, because they know that this is the last piece of the puzzle that they can use to control the masses. It's a lot easier to control people digitally than it is with the fiat currency. With fiat, you don't know who's going anywhere. I could take $10 and split it at 10 different locations, and you won't know anything about that. Who spent it, where it came from. You don't know any of that, where it's changed hands. But with a digital currency, you know everything. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
You can track it everywhere it goes. And if the person gets out of line, guess what? You can turn it off. There's GPS things that they're trying to get together on it. That's what the 5G is for. 5G is not so that you can speak more clearly on your cell phone. 5G is the technology that they need to support the new surveillance system that they're putting into place, and is going to have financial component to it. Just like I told everyone a couple of years ago, I said, understand the government's going to have their own blockchain, and they're going to make you operate on it, and everything's going to be connected to it. They'll be able to see you and track you in real time, people.
They're already beta testing all this stuff in China, man. It's
yes.
Got the social credit system, which I warned about back in 2012.
Right.
I was saying this is a beta test where they're going to take your social media, digital dossier, your preferences, your likes, all the places you shop, you went, your political leanings, and all that is going to be calculated into a credit score, a new credit score. And that's what they're going to be rolling out. You see this happening in China, where people are losing their right to even travel unless they pay off their debts and this, that, and the other. It is ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous. I hope to God that doesn't make it over here, because there's still an urgency of freedom, and people push back against it. This is why people need to be vigilant. And again, folks, we have the sword of Damocles hanging over our head. It's like it's up to us to keep pushing back. It's up to us to keep fighting. It's up to us to put these guys on notice, because if you give these guys an inch, they'll take a mile. So you got to keep them at bay. And as long as we keep them at bay, them being kept at bay creates a little bit of a playground for us to amass wealth, for us to change lives for ourselves and for our family members. You know, they're in the midst of the chaos. There's always opportunity. And it's also funny, Dex, that the Chinese word for opportunity and chaos is the same word. It's the same word. Crisis and opportunity is the same word in China.
That's powerful, isn't it?
Let me just clear this up for people that are listening to it, and I'm listening to you speak. When you say that they can track everything, isn't this kind of scary, using the blockchain where you can track everything that people do?
No, because that's not how they're going to sell it to you. They're going to sell it to you with all the positive aspects of it. Now, we need to be fair, and we need to discuss these positive aspects. This new technology is so advanced and so incredible that not only does it have facial recognition capabilities, but it can even I don't want to say it's body recognition, but it can literally
it has
pick
gait
you out
recognition
in a crowd.
as well.
Yeah, it can tell by your movements, the way you walk, stand. It can pick you out in a crowd without even seeing your face.
Yep.
And not only that, but why do you think they're trying to make everything smart? You know, the smart home, the smart car, everything's smart. Everything's connected to the internet. Right. So that's part of it. You know, that's just another way of saying blockchain, because the only way you could connect everything like that is through a blockchain. Doing it on the internet is not good enough, because then you lose control and everything's all over the place. They want to have it centralized and connected.
I'll say this because I know we're running out of time here. When you look at every single blockchain, right? You look at the code. Okay, you break it down. You'll see it. You'll see this on the white papers from the early on blockchain stuff, even with early on with Satoshi, this and the other. You'll see one name happening all the time, everywhere. MIT. All the time. MIT. You see, I mean, this is stuff you can look up, folks. It's MIT's all over it from the beginning. Now, if you're trying to launder money, the blockchain is the worst way to go, because we can see what's moving from one wallet to the other wallet. We might not know who owns the wallet, but they're developing software technologies and powerful algorithms that can kind of triangulate who owns the wallet. So, it's getting trickier and trickier to use certain digital currencies. I mean, there's some really good digital currencies that I like Monero, Zcash, that are, serious, powerful, robust cryptocurrencies with privacy tools built into it. Now, people like us who listen to programs like this, we'll be attuned to that. We like that. We are the rebels. We're the outliers. We're the rogues, so to speak, right?
Right.
But the masses, The masses don't care. They don't give a rat's rear end.
Nope.
The masses
You know
want
what?
what's easy.
They're going to be the first people to go with the government's wallet. Because see, that's
Right.
that's the solution. The government knows that, so they're going to attach wallets to everything that they control and move in society. People who go to a job, there's going to be a centralized wallet for your job to pay you with. And that wallet will be connected when you go and buy groceries and other things too, so they can track you what's going on with that from beginning to end. See, they have an answer for everything. That's why I say they want to build their own network aside from the one that already exists.
Yep.
This is the one that they control.
Absolutely.
And they make it so that you have to have a wallet. Just like when a baby's born, you have to have a social security number if you're going to operate in a society.
Gotta have a birth certificate.
Same thing with this new system. You're going to have a wallet.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your identity, and everything about you will be in it. So they can put infinite amounts of information in there. That there's a section in there in your wallet for the money, money's, whatever. And then they have other things like your medical records and just different things, so that they can identify you every time you go anywhere outside. Every pole is going to be connected. They're going to have cameras with every pole, and it's going to be these electronic readers on every pole, so that no matter where you go throughout the country or even throughout the world, it's going to be globally connected. And they're going to sell you on this, because they're going to say, look what we've done. We've basically stamped out crime. There's no more crime. Why is there no more crime? Because there are cameras literally everywhere, and everywhere everyone has to have this digital apparatus somewhere on their person at all times if they're going to operate in society. And they can see everyone who's everywhere. They'll be able to solve murders, crimes, solve anything, because they'll be able to go and see it in real time. And not only that, things that they missed, they can go back and rewind the footage and find out everything, who was there. Oh, okay, the number comes at 227. 227 is Mr. Smith. Yep, here's everything on Mr. Smith. Let's go get him. And if he's hiding or he's on the run, they'll be able to catch him within moments, probably within an hour. It'll probably take about 60 minutes to find anybody in the world, no matter where you are.
Well,
Because
can they just use this to round people up too?
That's why it's
without committing a crime. I mean, you just know.
Oh yeah, pre-crime is the future, man. I mean, they're already doing this in China. They're already doing this in China, where they have pre-crime technology where it's like it intercepts you, because they think, because the researcher found that certain people with certain whatever, that fit a specific mold in terms of their data has a more greater predilection to commit a crime, or so and what they're doing is they're literally talking to people, they're questioning them, they're surveilling them extra. It's already happening. So why? Because everybody people don't realize how smart the bloody algos have gotten. It's bloody brilliant. It's scary how good the algos have gotten. They're listening to you, and they're tracking you. You open up an app, on let's just say an example would be like Pinterest. You open up certain apps, the apps will actually track where your eyes are going on the screen. What are you looking at? What are you touching? The systems, the algos right now know you better than you know yourself, my friend. It is amazing.
And they're already rounding people up too. In Canada, if you speak out against certain things, you can be arrested on the spot. If you misgender someone, you can be arrested on the spot. They're doing it on your social media. If you write the wrong things or say the wrong things in a YouTube video, you can be arrested or shut down. Come on, look what they did to Alex Jones. The roundup is already happening.
Exactly. And that's what I got to say, Dave. Real quick, I know we got to go.
Yeah.
What I'll do is this, and folks, here's the deal. Like I said, crisis and opportunity is the same word. We have an amazing platform to share with all of you. That is our Watchers Trade Room. We trade over 80 cryptos there. We understand, because we're so effective. We understand what's going on in the world, and then Dex uses his amazing pulse wave technology to really pick the right cryptos. We trade over 80 cryptos. Dex, how many do we get? Over 80, and then over 1,000 instruments. That's stock.
Yeah.
equity.
Right now it's over 80 cryptos,
Mhm.
and as far as equities are concerned, we have over 1,400.
There you go.
Over 1,400 securities.
1,400 stocks, options, and futures market. So you can go ahead and trade. Amazing. It's super easy. You're not glued to the screen day trading anymore. It's one of the few exploits that people have. Hey, look, it's the Wall Street money machine is on. And Dex and I have been saying this for quite some time. There's no collapse. If this thing's going to blow, it's going to blow up. There's no collapse. So enjoy from now to Dow 29,000. Enjoy the ride. The Wall Street money machine is on. There are so many people, folks, that have come in, that have joined the room, and they have literally have created an additional income stream for their life and for their families, and it's helping them big time. Some people have even quit their jobs. It is tremendous. So we're going to be doing a webinar, and I will pass that information to Dave, and Dave will have it posted. The webinar is going to be on Friday, this Friday, March the what day is that? That's March.
Was it the 9th?
9th, I think. Yeah, March 9th. No, March 8th. It's this Friday, March 8th at 1 p.m. Right. Eastern. Join us. We'll have the links up there. We'll do a live trading. We'll do some Q&A. We'll show you what this whole thing is about. There are very few exploits. And one of the things we always tell people, take the profits that you got, and after you take care of your bills and whatnot and everything you need, take it. And what do? We buy precious metals, baby. That's it. We buy metals. We buy crypto, Bitcoin, whatever you can. We kind of get out of the dollar and get into safe havens. So, especially gold and silver. So use the system against them, so to speak. And that's what I got to say.
Yes, take your power back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give me all the links and everything. I'll put that at the bottom of the video and stuff, so it makes it easier for people to get over there, and I'll give them the dates and all that stuff. So it'll be a lot easier for people to find you and know where to go and stuff like that. But
perfect.
Thank you very much, V and Dex. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out and talking to me about all these interesting topics. It actually was a really good talk. Thank you very much for being on the spotlight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.